What's happening, everybody? I'm Steve, and welcome back to Junkdrummer TV, where I give my analysis, my hot takes, and my initial reactions of the drummers of today and yesterday. Maybe tomorrow if I stick around that long. I am a professional drum teacher and gigging musician, and I have been for the last 20 years. It is the day after Thanksgiving, and I am feeling like a fat bastard. Also, because it's the day after Thanksgiving, it's also Black Friday. And if you are a Steely Dan fan, and every time you see an advertisement or an ad for Black Friday and you don't sing When Black Friday Comes, you are not really a Steely Dan fan, and I am obviously not a vocalist. I love Steely Dan. It's one of my favorite bands. It might be a top 3, at least a top 5 band for me. I'm obsessed with them. I've loved them forever. I've liked them since I was a teenager. I think that they're damn near the most perfect band ever. Now, when you say band, that word's kind of fluid with Steely Dan, if you know anything about them. Steely Dan was 2 guys, Donald Fagen and Walter Becker. They, for the first 2 records, yeah, they were a full band, and then they kind of just took over the band, and everybody left, and then they were the last 2 that had the name. And Steely Dan is really this just collective of the most badass studio cats that this world has ever known. You can't just talk about one drummer who's been in Steely Dan. They've all been there. Jeff Porcaro, Rick Marotta, Bernard Purdy, Vinnie Colaiuta, etc., etc. Steve Jordan, I'm pretty sure. Maybe he was only on Nightfly, but I'm pretty sure Steve Jordan was on records as well. Steely Dan is a murderer's row of studio drumming. Now, that isn't why I love Steely Dan, and I've got to cut this short because I can sit here and talk about Steely Dan until the cows come home. But Steely Dan, in my opinion, and why I call them the damn near perfect band, they wrote wonderful songs. Those songs that you could sing for the rest of the day. Now, they didn't go the Tom Petty approach with hummable singability. They are jazz people. They used extended melodies and heavy-duty syncopated rhythms. There's a hint of virtuosity in every Steely Dan song, but it's not the kind of virtuosity that turns you off. It's virtuosity, advanced harmony, and rhythm that adds to pop music. I think very few bands, I can't think of a band that played around in the waters that they did that got the same results. You know, a lot of times when we think of, advanced harmony and a 27th chord with a raised 14th or whatever, you kind of think of like music that only musicians like. But Steely Dan made music that everyone loved, especially those who have yachts. I have to shut up now or this video will never get going. Again, I love Steely Dan. I love Keith Carlock. Keith Carlock was, I think, pretty much there from Two Against Nature on, I think, and I definitely know on the very last record, Everything Must Go, which he recorded all the tracks on that. He was their live drummer at the end. I don't know if Donald is still touring as Steely Dan now that Brother Walter's gone, but I think it's like the ultimate compliment for Steely Dan to have their last record recorded by one drummer when they had the pick of every drummer in the world. So, before we get into it, please feel free to like, comment, and share. Give me a double tap on the subscription and the notification bell. I also have a PayPal option in the description if you'd like to help me out with the cause. So, let's watch Keith Carlock, Steely Dan play Black Friday. This worked out so perfect for me because this is obviously just somebody filming in the front row, it looks like. I love Keith Carlock. I really got to know him on that Modern Drummer DVD. I think it's 2006. His style was one of my favorites. This is playing traditional grip. Ah! That's groove, baby. Okay, so right off the bat, that we talk about that a lot in this channel. That's drumming that will get you the gig. I know we can watch, videos like my last one, which was Matt Garska, and be like blown away, and you should be. But that right there, that's adult table drumming. Let's talk about what he's doing, Low Education time. He's not playing the exact groove from the original. The original was played by Jeff Porcaro when I think he was 20 years old. This is off of Katie Lied. Jeff Porcaro played it more like a traditional shuffle. We're playing a shuffle here. He's playing what's called a double shuffle. And I'm going to show you the basic double shuffle. He's playing some other accents around it than what I'm going to show you. A double shuffle is a shuffle where you play the shuffle on both hands, and if you think about shuffling, you're thinking 1, lay 2, lay 3, lay 4, lay 1, or you can think swung eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. I'm not a big fan of thinking that way because, like, you can think 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, but your drum fills and stuff are going to still have triplets in it, so I just figured just like think triplets anyway. But so you take that pattern, 1, lay 2, lay 3, lay 4, lay 1. And you play that pattern on both hands. 1, lay 2, lay 3, lay 4, lay 1, lay 2, lay 3, lay 4, lay 1. To make it a double shuffle, this is where you have to be able to play accents and taps. You're going to play taps on everything but the 2 and the 4, and on the 2 and the 4, you're going to play an accent. And that's what he's doing right here. This is different from the recording. I love them so much, man. They came one town over and played a theater when Walter was still around, and it was so expensive I didn't have the bread to go, man. I'm heartbroken not to go to see that. Their tickets are expensive. You had to have a yacht to go. Yes. Okay, so that section right there is Steely Dan showing their big band. Those hits right there. Those are all on 1 and 2, and they're all those hits are on the and of 2 or the and of 4 or the lay of 2 and the lay of 4. That is just classic big band. If you've ever played in a big band, you're looking on your chart, you got your unison hits right there, right? So you've got, however many 4 or 8 measures of unison hits on the and of 2 and the and of 4, or the lay of 1 and the lay of 2 and the lay of 4. And then it's your job to set those hits up to play a drum fill into those hits. And he does it so well. These drum fills are better than the original. I can't remember who that legendary bass player is. I'll put his name right here. If I figure out who it is. I've got some bass players that I can consult. See the rest of the band. Yeah, get back to Keith. There it is, and setting those hits up. Oh God, I love it. I love it. I love him. I love everything about Steely Dan. I don't think there's a song that I really don't like. I can put the box set on and listen top to bottom. Am I showing Walter at all? This is from '09. He was around. We talk about this a lot. This is drumming that gets you the gig. YouTube has twisted our view of what drumming is. If you go on YouTube and you look at drummer shreds and you just see all this crazy over-the-top drumming, man, that's cool, man. That's awesome. And it's something to strive for. But if you really want to make the art that lasts, the stuff that gets you in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the stuff that gets you the gig, the stuff that pays your bills. This is the drumming you should stride for. I don't care about this guitar player. He's amazing. You know, that's a big classic example there where the guitar player was just soloing over both forms. He soloed over the verse and then soloed over the chorus. For the soloist, that's really interesting because then you can play your solo around those hits. About Donald Fagen. Donald Fagen is one of the best lyricists in the history of recorded music. His lyrics are so subversive, so irreverent. I always think of his lyrics were like the lyrics that were written by the kids in the back of the class who were smarter than the teacher, but also were like mega smartasses. That's what you get with Donald Fagen's lyrical content. Carlock is straight destroying this shit. Yeah. I love his use of double strokes. I think he's got all ride cymbals up there. Yes! That drum fill right there, so smooth. Where's Walter? Is this like a Fagen solo show? Is he dead by then? I don't know. I don't mind this. Seeing this. Yes, 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 yes. Steely Dan, all day, every day for the rest of your life. Keith Carlock, all day, every day for the rest of your life. That is beautiful examples of studio drumming. And of course, they're not in the studio, but expert playing for the song. And, you know, when we say that, you know, play for the song, you automatically kind of think of like Stan Lynch, Phil Rudd type playing, and that is true too. But you can also play for the song and get yours too if you know how to do it tastefully. You know, it wasn't like those drum fills weren't advanced Sunday school when he was playing those drum fills, but it was tasteful and it worked perfectly for the song. I wish there was a band out there that would take on this mantle of this, pop music with expanded harmonics and complex syncopation and still make it a pop song. I think Steely Dan is going to be the only one to pull it off because they're fucking geniuses. So if you got anything out of that, when Black Friday comes, baby, Keith Carlock, check out everything that you can of his. You know, his style isn't what you just saw. He has this really interesting, like, New Orleans flavored things where he does these, like, kind of almost like two-note melodies between the snare drum and the bass drum. That Modern Drummer, I think it's 2006 or 2008. You got to go watch it. It is a must-see for every drummer. But he's just showing that he can do it all. You know, he's a downtown New York guy. There's a lot of videos of him playing, like, New York fusion and really overplaying and playing, fusion. But right here, this is just beautiful. This is, beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So, if y'all enjoyed all of that, please feel free to like, comment, and share. Give me a double tap on the subscription and the notification bell. I also have a PayPal option, link in the description, if you would like to help donate to a broke-ass teacher musician. So, Steely Dan, this video could be 50 minutes long. Listen to them, love them. Keith Carlock, learn it. If you go through the Steely Dan discography, you will get a taste of every great drummer that has played in the studio for the last 40 plus years. I can't recommend them enough. And if you want to be able to get on the Steely Dan record, you got to keep practicing until it's easy.